I was actually writing just this morning about when I said yes to the call. You know, we're writing this. Chloe and I are writing this book, and at some point in your life, older, younger, it doesn't matter. You have to kind of wake up and say, "What am I really doing with my life?" And some people never do that. And what I want to encourage everybody to do is take a little bit of time, and particularly folks that are kind of in your stage in life, and say, okay, I've been around long enough to know what life is about. Now, what am I going to do with it? Where am I going to go? And at your age is precisely when I sort of leaned in, because when I was in college, which was the Coast Guard Academy, I just sort of drifted. The Coast Guard Academy was such an interesting and unique experience that that I just thought, okay, I'm just going to enjoy the experience, and 4 years later I'll graduate and then go into the Coast Guard. I didn't work hard. I didn't apply myself because I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I didn't take the time to figure it out. I knew I was going to be a Coast Guard officer. That's all I knew, and that's all I cared. Then what happened is, because I didn't apply myself, I graduated low in my class because I got good enough grades to graduate, and that was it. And so I didn't understand the consequences of that lack of decision, or that decision to not lean in. And by graduating low in your class, meant your first assignment was picked. You got to pick your first assignment based on where you were in your class standing. So all these people that were ahead of me in my class standing got to pick first their ships. And then it finally got to my, I was like, damn, I wish I'd really thought about that before I got here, because all the good ships that I wanted to go to are already taken. Everybody else gets to go to them, graduated higher than me. I could have been up there. I just had to decide to apply myself. I didn't know where I was going. And then not only that, but much of your early service professional reputation, when you go to your first ship, everybody knows where you graduated in your class. They all know. And they go, oh yeah, we got the bottom of the barrel here. You know, it's stuff like that you don't even realize when you're drifting, as I say, when you're just drifting through life. You don't even realize what the long-term impacts of that might be. And then all of a sudden I was like, wow, did I really do that? And I did really do that. So the setting goals is all about taking the time to think about where it is that you're headed. It's simply that. Where are you going? Where do I want to end up? And then, you know, you got to start to get specific about it. And the way I like to break it down, and in the game plan, as we've talked about it before, you start with the big stuff. Now that we know where your values are set, because we did that previously, the next step is the goals. What do I want to accomplish with my life? It's a hard thing to take on when you're your age, for example, but it's not impossible, and it's a really great exercise. So let me ask you, you know, where do you want to head in you? Give me 2 or 3 major life goals that are you getting nervous about this? Is that why you're?
I'm not. No, I'm bringing up my game plan.
Okay.
I'm super vulnerable, Kevin. I'll give you all the information.
Okay. I mean, I know you sent me your game plan earlier, which was awesome, by the way. I was really impressed with it.
Get out of town. Thank you. All right, here these are my actual game plan. Here are my goals. Lifetime 2 to 10.
I got to blow this up and make it bigger because I'm on this. Yeah. Own farmland and make it self-sufficient. That's a great, this is great stuff. Write a novel. Create generational wealth. Sail from the UK to Australia. Ooh, that's a good one. The point of goals is so that you don't do what I did, which is drift. You don't want to drift through life. You just need to take the time. And the things that you have for your lifetime goals are amazing. And then once you have the lifetime goals set, and that's a pretty ambitious life. And you know what? Think about this. Okay, here's a great question for you to think about. Think about how much that motivates you every day. When you think about, now that I know where I'm headed with my life, I mean, doesn't that give you energy?
Definitely. I get a lot of energy as well from just thinking about the sort of big picture stuff in the future, and what are the crazy things that I could accomplish. It helps me get creative and spinning, but I love writing it down and actually having to think about it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, back to that whole subconscious mind thing. Magic happens when you write it down. And even when you're not reviewing it or consciously engaged in the subject matter, your mind is working on it because you've written it down and you're reviewing it and it's there. And all kinds of opportunities that you would never pay attention to in the past will now enter your field of view. You'll see it, you'll recognize it as something that can help you. And then you'll adopt it in some way. You'll make it part of your life. And so, yeah, you see the next column over there on your goals, which is you go out. Wait, let me see how you did that. This is 2 to 10 year goals. Okay, yeah, they're on the right side of your column. 2 years out, 4 years out, 8 years out. Okay, I think that really works too. And as we were talking about earlier, when you're setting a goal that's lifetime goal or even a 10-year goal, something that's really far out there, it's not that hard to imagine what you could, if you were your best self, really applying yourself, what could you achieve in a decade? It's actually quite remarkable. So it's not that hard to put that out there on paper. But the closer you get to present day, the harder it gets because you have to start getting more specific about, okay, in 10 years, I want to own a home, I own a boat, whatever. And let me look at your 10 goals. So 10 years out, you want to publish my first book, you want to start a family, and you want to have 100 million in total assets. Those are 3 of your 5, 10-year goals. That's big stuff.
Yeah.
So 100 million in total assets. I'll just ask you straight up. What do you need to be doing in a year to start moving you toward that?
Well, I think I already made sort of the first leap over the past year, which was starting a company and starting to build that. So that sets me up to then start doing some other things. And it's, I think that over the next year, the main things I need to be doing and focusing on learning and maximizing the output and the effort of the current companies that I got a piece of, so that I can, just push the value there and make a difference. And I think that through making a difference, that'll actually, the 100 million will come.
Okay.
But over the next year, what do I need to be doing? I need to be learning a shit ton and saying yes to everything that I possibly can.
Okay. All right. So now let me go back something where it gets a little harder. I'm going to actually dig into your goals a little bit here and see specifically what you're doing. You want to do a TED Talk in 2 years.
Yeah.
What do you know about TED Talks? And what do you know about becoming a TED Talk speaker?
Well, I know that I think that the same as most sort of speaking events and stuff, I need to figure out an angle.
Okay.
Why they actually want me to be speaking there instead of just going and being like, hey, I got these crazy ideas. Like, I need an angle. And so my angle is going to be something, it's going to be, I'm fielding a couple of ideas. I've got one idea, which is about this character stuff and how can I use myself as a sort of massive advocate for it, because I'm a young guy. Another one is about, being a first-time founder and building, also another one on building communities and why I think micro communities are so important. So it's about sort of establishing this angle, proving that I can actually do it and that it works, and then approaching them being like, hey, here's something I've actually done, and my big take, or my big scheme, or my big take, my big bold take, and this is why you should have me on board.
Okay. So these are great ideas, and I think all of those things are the right things for you to be thinking about. Have you identified yet which specific, because I know there are TED Talks, there's like the big TED Talk, right, where it's the sort of the keynote of the whole system, and then they have regional TED Talks that break down into specific subject matter areas in different parts of the world. Have you identified the specificity of that yet?
So the specificity of the what I want the TED Talk to be.
No, like where? Do you know where you want it to be? Do you want it to be in the UK somewhere, or do you want it to be in the US?
See, this is a huge, because I don't know if I'm going to be living in the US in 2 years, but I probably will be. So I'm living in the US in 2 years, the US, if not London.
Okay. All right. See, but this is what's happening. As you think about this stuff, this is now on your list, Ollie.
Yeah.
You have to start working on this. And you
Yeah.
are. And that's again, you are, so you're already starting to talk about it. But when you go through your weekly review of all this stuff, and especially when you do your 90-day and your 1-year review of these things, this is where you have to sort of take a sounding on every
Yeah.
one of these items and saying, am I doing what I need to be doing to get to that 2-year goal? Am I doing it today? And so that's, and you are, you're doing all the stuff. You just have to keep doing it, and you have to be getting more and more specific about it, knowing that it's going to drive you.
Yeah, but
Have you heard?
you're exactly right. What I haven't actually spent enough time digging deep into each one of those things and being like I've got a general gist of how to get there, but I haven't done through the specific, tactics of how I actually maneuver myself into that position. So that's really helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, and you're still new at doing this particular sort of methodology, so so you'll get it, but it's going to take some time to really master it over time. I mean, I've been doing this for years, and I'm still making improvement. I mean, I've been doing this for decades, and I'm still making improvements to it. So the fact that you are where you are at this point is incredibly valuable. And the other thing to think about when your goal, a lot of people they have various tools or little acronyms that stand for certain things that, and a very useful one is SMART goals. Have you heard the whole SMART goals thing?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what all that is: specific, measurable, attainable, um, relatable, and time bound. So that's what SMART stands for. And as you work through the things you got to do in the next 90 days to figure out where you need to be in 1 year, to figure out where you need to be in 2 years, making those SMART goals along the way. Again, everybody can tailor this to themselves. This doesn't have to be some formal, some fancy thing. It can be nothing more than the most important thing is to think about the way you want to do it and the way you want to get there, and do it in your own way. Make it your own. And I think that's what you've done. I don't know if any of this is helpful to you, but
Very much so. Yeah.
okay. And it's one thing to write them down. That is probably the single most valuable part of your goals, is just writing it down. Back to what your subconscious does, starts working on these things immediately. Even when you're not thinking about them, all kinds of opportunities pop up that you see and you recognize that you otherwise, had you not put that down there, you'd never recognize it. Bounce right off you like babies off a hippo. It would hit you and not impact you at all. But now that you have them down there, they will, and you'll see them and you'll lean into them and you go, that's it. And as I was sharing with you earlier in this call, that happened to me this very week
Yeah.
with somebody who popped into my life that all of a sudden became part of my plan because he's going to help me fulfill my goal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's and one question I do have is similar to what we were talking about and earlier, is that as you sort of go from 2 years to 10 years, like, what's the difference between apart from the obvious time span, what should be the difference between a 2-year and a 10-year goal? Like, is the 10-year goals, are they, you sort of, as you get more and more, are they sort of starting to get in your wildest imagination, or, how do you actually go about planning that? Do you
Yeah,
have a vision of,
actually, that's a great.
have you had to sit down and had a vision of what you want to sort of be in 10 years? Is that an important thing to do?
It is an important thing to do, and 10 years is actually a great time frame because have you heard me talk about the 1,000% rule?
Oh,
Is this?
is that 1% a day?
It's 1/10 of 1% a day, 5 days a
Ah,
week.
okay, brilliant.
It is brilliant, actually. It's the incredible power of the compound effect of improvement, or of money, or of anything.
Yeah,
As Albert Einstein said, compound effect is the eighth wonder of the world.
yeah,
And so if you pick an area in your life, let's say that you want to improve your public speaking skills, and I said to you, Ollie, could you improve your public speaking skills today, this very day, by 1/10 of 1%? Could you?
Probably, yeah.
Probably. What do you mean
Definitely.
probably? Definitely.
Yeah.
You you could do it, right? You could do it. And you'd think of some small thing that I could, I don't know, I'm gonna make it up. I'm gonna stop saying okay, that's a small little, that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try.
Mhm.
That's 1/10 of 1%. And then tomorrow I said to you, now, could you improve it again today, 1/10 of 1%? You'd say yes. If you do that for a decade, 5 days a week, so you even get the weekends off. You don't have to improve over the weekends. You can rest. That's 1,000% improvement in 10 years. That's the compound effect of improvement.
Yeah.
Is it realistic that you're going to improve 1,000% in something that you may be already pretty good at? No, but could you improve 100%? Let's say that you only improved 100% instead of 1,000%. Imagine where you'd be with 100% improvement. But the key is it's over the period of a decade. Tony Robbins says all the time, and I believe it, and this is why 10 years is important. Most people overestimate what they can do in a year, and they grossly underestimate what they can do in a decade. So yes, to answer your question with a long and winding answer about, is this where I'm really getting wild and crazy with where I think I could be in 10 years? Yes, this is the time to do that, because you can do really wild and crazy things in a decade. So you want to put those big old things out there at the 10-year mark, and then start working backwards. Okay, if I'm there at 10 years, I got to be here at 8 years, and then I got to be here at 6 years, and I got to be here at 4
Mm.
years. It's not going to be exact.
That's an interesting thing. So would you say, and like, just to, before we get off that, would you usually start then when you're building out your game plan with, all right, this is what I want to do in the next 10 years, and then you sort of break it down to, this is what I have to be doing in 2 years in order to get to that 10-year spot as your 2-year goals?
Yeah, but I work it personally from 10 years backward.
That's what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
I go to 10, and then I go to 8, and then I go to 6, and then I go to 4, and then I go to 2.
That could have actually made it a lot easier thinking about those sort of middle 6 to 8 year goals, what to put there. That's really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's helpful. And then it's 2 years is just like you said, 2 years is close enough that you got to start getting pretty specific. I mean, we were talking about your TED Talk, right? You got to start getting pretty specific pretty soon. Where do I want to do it? What is the topic that I want to do it on? Who do I have to get to know to get on their, to get on their radar, to get their attention? What is the process by which you go through being selected for a TED Talk? These are all very specific things, and you got to be thinking about those now, because if you don't, it's going to be you're going to blink, and 2 years is going to go by, and you're going to have to put it out on your next 2-year goal.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Really interesting. Thank you. And I was going to ask you a question about the 90-day goals, but I'll wait till our next session, because that's when I want to go through the daily game plan. I know you got 90-day goals in there. The last sort of question that I have, and it's something that, I tried to explain the other day, like I said, when I was going through the game plan with my brother, is that how do you look at the difference between values and lifetime goals?
Okay.
Because I think that
Great
a lot of
question.
people can, like, they can put like a lifetime goal as, this is a sort of thing that I want to have continuously going throughout my life, that end up being a value. And I'm interested how, if you have any thoughts on that, or how you look at that, and yeah.
So, yes, a value can be something that is kind of, it can be a guiding principle. It can be kind of obscure. It doesn't have a definite ending. It's just like, I value excellence. So, well, what does that mean? That means that I want to apply the concept of excellence to everything that I do. Okay. But do you know specifically when you have achieved excellence? I mean, that's a much harder thing to do, right? And so it's more of that kind of thing. Whereas a lifetime goal has a very definitive accomplishment connected to it. A value doesn't. A value is enduring forever.
So the
But
lifetime goal is like an outcome, whereas the value is something that you do to get to that outcome, maybe.
correct.
Okay.
There you go. Yeah, I call them the guardrails. The guardrails for your life. Like
I like that. The guardrails. Yeah.
yeah, because and that's why it's important to do the values first. Because if you don't have your guardrails established, your values established, you might set goals that conflict with your values. And just to make up an absurd example, there are some people that don't like to make money. They don't want to make money. They think it's wrong. And so their values might say one thing and their goals might have something different. And if they conflict, then you have to sort that out, and you have to say, I gotta make sure I'm staying consistent with my values, because that's how I'm supposed to behave every single day.
Yeah.
But a lifetime goal, like the things that you have. I'm gonna look at yours again specifically. I gotta pull it over here. Write a novel. Okay, that has a very definitive ending to it. There's a novel or there isn't a novel. That's it.
Yeah.
That's a lifetime goal. That's great. Give away over $1 million.
Or $100 million.
Yeah, I'm sorry, $100 million. Give away $100 million. That's awesome, by the way. I love that you seriously. That is seriously awesome. Yeah, you'll know it's a math problem. Have I given away $100 million? That's not a value. But some people can confuse them.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. All right. Cool. That's been very, very helpful. How you actually go about and set your goals. I think that one exercise of sitting down and looking at your 10-year self and what you want to have achieved in the 10 years, and then working back. That's one of the most helpful things I've gotten from this session here.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much for your time, Kevin.
You're welcome.